Morning, guys. Welcome to Monday. So, I'm at my other local cafe. I normally come here every Monday and I love it. The coffee's great and I'm surrounded by this weird art and all these dolls of moose and deer. I'm not entirely sure, but the next time I go to Canada, I am buying a moose doll and I'm bringing it back to put in this cafe because that would just be cool. So, big shout out to Dan today. Dan jumped in over the weekend and he will be getting his own copy of the journal so that he can start his journey once we go into production and see what it's all like. So that'll be really cool. Now today I wanted to talk about an element of the journal that is very, very unique. I have not come across this, and for some it may not mean much, for other people it's gonna make all the difference in the world. So I'm left-handed. Ever since I first started to write, I've dealt with that smudge that left-handers get down the side of the hand. It's always been a problem, but the thing is that most left-handers, we don't really take it into consideration because we're taught to write and that's just the way it is. So ever since I started journaling, or at least in, sort of since teenage years, I've only ever used half my book. I would only ever write on the right-hand page. My left-hand page always stayed blank. And the reason for that is I'd smudge the ink. I'd end up with ink stains. It didn't work for me. So I would buy a book, write on the right-hand page, and that was it. This is why I wanted to change it. Now, in Western culture, we are taught you write from left page to right. For the right-handers, this isn't really an issue because, you guys always have the page uncovered and that's cool. But for left-handers, it's a problem. So what I wanted to do, when I started breaking down the journal into the different sections, there's a psychological trigger within our minds. And the way it works is that, especially for left-handers, we write from the left page to the right. Now, as we fill the page, as we go down the lines, our hands cover our words. But on a psychological level, it means that as you're getting everything out in feel, as you are starting to get in touch with your emotions, you're then covering it up. Now, the physical side of this is that if you want to reread what you're doing, you need to lift your hand. Not a big thing, but it does disrupt your process. On a deeper level, we don't read back. We don't look over it. So therefore, it's not in the front of our heads. So what I've done is I've swapped the journal around. I've made two versions of the journal. There's a right-handed version and a left-handed version. Inside, all of the layout is the same. Everything's the same. It's just been flipped. So let's have a look at the journal. So guys, here's the layout of the journal. Now this is the left-handed version because this was the copy that I wrote in, okay? So as I've been through previously, the journal is broken down into the quotes with think. First question, first answer. My inspiration, feel. These all line up. This section here will actually be going down in the bottom because what we found during the test was a lot of people used my inspiration to reflect at night. So we want that to be the last thing that you look at night time. So then you have the body of the journal, which is your free form. That's where you write. Then you detach the emotion and you look at logic, which is clarify. Now keep in mind the titles are changing in the different sections. From logic, you then move into do. Okay, so if you're a left-hander, if this was on this page, what would happen is we are taught we write left to right. So as you were writing through, as you were going through, as you were writing free form, every time you wrote, you would be covering up your words. Now, this is okay for the free form, but where it really comes into play is when you go to detach the emotion from here and you go to use it in clarify. So if clarify and next action were over here, as you move across, you are actually covering up your words. You're writing here logically, and if you want to go back and look at something, you've got to uncover it again. Not a big deal, but it does break up your process. When you then move to do, you're covering your words up again. So for the left-handers, I flipped it. We actually write from right page to left. So you're writing freeform. Good, 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 emotion, getting it out, stepping up, okay? From there, when you come across something that you need to do, you move to the left page. You can write logically. The whole time, you're seeing your words here, okay? You're not covering it up. Mentally, it's always there in front of you. From logic, we then move to do, creating action. Now, I'm actually going to change this further because I realized that I'm going from here to here, back to here. So what I want to do is we're going to have freeform, logic, action. I think a good part of this is when we open a book, we naturally look to the left-hand side of the page because that's where we start reading. So this way, your action is always the first thing that you'll see. This will make it much easier to keep track of what you're doing and the progress that you're making. So that's the left-handed version. Now for the right-handers, guys, you're like this. You naturally write, how uncoordinated do I look? So you write this way, you are always uncovering your words, which is a great way to write from a mental perspective, okay? So this page goes over here. Everything is identical, it's just flipped. So you write, you will then have clarify here so that your words are uncovered and you're writing, and then you'll move to do. So everything is always staying uncovered. So these are some of the things I learnt during the test and during the prototype. A lot of people may not realize how much of an impact covering your words can have. When I gave this to the left-handed people during the test, the feedback was awesome because so many of them came back to me and went, we didn't realize. And that's because we've always been taught to write a certain way. So, you know, since the age of 5, we adapt and it just becomes habit. It's the way we look at things. When they were presented with a new way of doing something, that's where a lot of the left-handers found a great deal of benefit, and that's why I'm doing it that way. The next thing I need to look at from the design process is how am I going to distinguish the journals so that when you're in the bookshop looking for your version, how do you know that it's a left-handed or a right-handed version? I'm bouncing ideas around with that and we'll see what comes of it. So guys, that's today's video. I just wanted to talk about left hand versus right hand and the layout of the journal. Next video, we'll go into actually breaking this down and how people used it during the test in different elements of their life. All right, thanks for watching, guys.